ACC, you've heard it before, you know what it is. Inside today, what we're going to talk about is a few key tips that not a lot of people do know that can make a big, big difference in the event you fall ill or have an accident. First and foremost, what and how. ACC covers you in the event you have an accident after 7 days, and it'll typically cover up to 80% of your income. Really, really basic stuff. Pays it weekly, and the way which is calculated in the short term, it is based on the 4 weeks prior your injury. In the long term, so any claim after 4 weeks, it actually takes your last 12 months of income into consideration. Now, this could actually be a risk, or either one of them could be a risk. Two scenarios. The short term, you've been on holiday, you've taken leave without pay, you've just come back, you don't have any income in the weeks prior, but you normally earn a really good amount of money. Something happens, you fall off your skateboard, you break your leg, you can't work. What are you going to do? ACC luckily has a minimum, but it's definitely not going to be 80% of your full income. There's a really, really big risk there. On the other side, the long term, let's just say you've moved into this new fancy job, right? You're getting paid 130, 140 grand, but 12 months ago, you're only getting paid 70,000. You go on claim because of an accident for a long period of time, you're going to get 80% of your last 12 months. 80% of 70,000, not 130,000. Now, I bet that's going to bite you. Now, the key limitations here is something you really need to understand, and something few people will know, but a lot of people don't. So one, it's 80% of your income. Yes, we all know that. Did you know, though, there's actually a maximum on how much you can get irrespective of how much money you make? Let's say you're a $300,000 or $400,000 income earner. You're not going to get 80% of that $300,000 or $400,000. Heck, even if you're $200K income earner, you're not going to get 80% of that. You're going to get the maximum of $122,000 if you're off work for 12 months. That's $2,350 a week. Not 80% of $300,000, only $122,000. The key thing there is there are solutions over and above that, which we'll move on to shortly. The other key area, a lot of people should know, but it only covers accidents. So if you are one of these people that think, look, ACC, it's okay, I've got it, something happens to me, I'm all covered. You're only covered for one thing. That one thing is accidents. And over and above that, you're only covered if ACC say that it's an accident unrelated to previous medical issues. You broke your leg or your arm or your back in the past, 12 years later, 13 years later, you can't work because let's just say you're back. They might ring it down to degeneration and nothing's there. So you've really got to make sure that you're not hanging your hat on the ACC to make sure that you're going to be covered and make sure your family and yourself are all protected to make sure those bills are paid. The other aspect of it, as I said, is the 12-month calculation side of things. Just make sure that when you do go through these big, big changes at work, and if you did have, say, insurance and all that stuff, make sure it's updated because that is your backstop. So talking about the last bit, which is the options that you have and some of the solutions to these problems. We actually have two types of Cover Plus Extra. One for the PAYE worker, which is the majority of people. The other one for self-employed non-PAYE workers. A lot of these people fall into the trades or anybody that owns a business that isn't paid PAYE. Now, there's a big, big difference between the two of them. One of them, you've got flexibility and an agreed value ability. So one you can dial down on or you can pull it up, reduce your levies or increase your levies. The other one you have no say over, which is your normal workers. The CPX, Cover Plus Extra for self-employed people, I'm going to dive into the key points in this next video in and around how that can work for you to make sure you don't have any black holes like we've sort of just talked about here. Now, what are the solutions? Let's talk about the 80% or the maximum. The solution here is that you really need to start considering that you have insurance over and above these thresholds, but even more so is the whole idea about accidents being the only thing that's going to happen to you. So in the event of an illness, ACC is not going to be there. Insurance is that safety net at the bottom of the hill if something does happen to you, making sure that you are going to be protected. And will also potentially cover you for those conditions that ACC might not come to the party with. This is where it's really, really important for us to make sure that everything is streamlined and you know exactly what's going to happen when you need it. We want to ensure that all of your protection is as wide as possible. And what I mean by that, down here, ACC covers 80%. So we're going to be 20% of our income short. what if I told you that this little 20% right here, what happens if I told you we could make sure that's going to come into your back pocket in the event of an accident or in the event of an illness? Even better, what happens if I told you that we could actually give you more than 100% of your income, a whole 25% more of your income in the event of an accident as well? Now that could make a massive, massive difference. Yes, you don't need more money typically than what you earn, but that money goes a long way to dealing with the problems that you have. It might mean the wife or the husband taking time away from work to look after you. That extra 25% can be huge if your claim is going to be a long, long term. So what do I suggest? If any of this is starting to ring bells in your head and say, man, I'm not too sure, go and seek some advice.
Financial freedom. Financial freedom. Oh yeah. Financial freedom.
Hello there.